Good evening, everyone. This is Lyrata Barrett for Meditations for Humanity for the Institute for Global Transformation. You have to excuse me, but I had to redo this session because I forgot to press record about 2 weeks ago when I actually did this session, the first session. So I had to reformulate it in my mind and reprogram my mind in order to get this done, especially given that we were around the holiday. And a lot, as you know, has been going on. So I also ask that you be aware that you may hear noises in the background. It's my heating element within the house. It's rather loud, I would say. It's not a quiet one. And you'll hear that now that we have the heat on. It's no longer summertime. So today, let us dig right in. We will be talking about form and its nature. We will be talking about things like being in right relationship with form or to form, the aspect of invoking divine will, the two characteristics of deity within the form, inertia and activity, the motions of movement of spirit and substance and how to alter that motion, how soul initiates a new motion, and the aspect of taking up residence in the head and why we do that, which I've spoken to you about in previous sessions leading up to this over a number of months now. We last spoke about 3 major laws of nature that helped give form, rather, to nature. The law of economy, the law of relativity, and the law of periodicity. The law of economy, you will recall, is that law that states that all forms as they are of the divine serve the economy of the one life, or the divine. We spoke of the law of relativity, which states that all forms are interrelated and interdependent within the one life. All forms are made up of substance that is active and living. And that substance, when we speak about the word substance, we're talking about the body of God or matter itself, the matter aspect, or the third person in the Holy Trinity, Holy Ghost. That it is the union of spirit and matter that creates soul or consciousness. And lastly, we spoke about the law of periodicity, which is about the internal and external cycles that are ongoing within universes, solar systems, planets, soul, the individual, the atom, plants, animal plants and minerals, so forth. And that these cycles correspond to the in-breath and the out-breath of God, or the one life, which create the appearance and the disappearance of these same things, universes, planets, and all of the different aspects of life that I mentioned. So those are the things that are the set points, so to speak, from which we will spring into this conversation. So how do these theories apply to our daily lives? That's what we're doing. We're bringing it down to the practical to see how we apply it in our daily lives. how we interact with them, how do we see them working out in our world. First of all, these laws give form its nature, its quality, so to speak. Okay? It is within form that our consciousness is presently imprisoned. And I say imprisoned, why? Because we identify with this form. So, and because we identify so strongly with it, we limit our ability to realize and to connect with the more that we are. Understanding that our soul, each of our souls, is much wiser than we present on this plane in which we live, move, and have our being. Okay? So when we understand that and realize that, then we begin to connect, reach up and connect with that soul, and to realize that this exterior vantage point within which we live and move and think is true or is real is really not. It's simply an outpicturing of something even greater and bigger than we are. Okay? So that we are simply living in this form in order to learn. We are light beings in truth, and truly not of this form. It is simply a vehicle that we use in order to navigate, to learn, to observe, to suffer, to have experiences in order that we may grow. Okay? And when all of a sudden all of that dawns on us, that's when we begin to look up and connect with that which is bigger than us, that which is more than that which we that we are simply the reflection of. Okay, sort of like a baseline reflection of, and then we begin to do the hard work, the important work of integrating our matter, which is what this particular lesson is all about. Integrating our matter into a unit that the soul can connect with. And once stridently done, effectively done, purposefully and decisively done, without distraction, and that takes time. Sometimes you go bing bong, bing bong, bing bong. We bounce back and forth until we all of a sudden realize, no, this is it. Nothing else is more important than our soul connection. Then we can say we're no longer imprisoned in the form. We no longer are identifying with the form. But it is through this form that we learn to master our matter. We begin to realize that we're not the form, but something so much more than the form. And then we begin to evolve into the conscious soul, incarnate within this vehicle. We only begin to understand these laws as we apply them in our lives. We begin to realize that we must examine every part of our lives, our thoughts, our feelings, our acts. We have to learn how to live with harmlessness, So we begin to examine every part of our lives, our thoughts, our feelings, our acts, as they all reflect and have bearing on the one life that we are a part of and that we serve for a given period of time. Again, reflecting on that aspect of the law of periodicity and that everything is happening in cycles. When that time of our service is over, the imprint we've made within the one life, within this incarnation, through our acts, our form, and that geometric pattern, so to speak, that we leave behind within our environment as we leave this planet, this life, this vehicle, we're able to see as we move on what our imprint was, what our effect on our environment was, what our sphere, what our effect on our sphere of influence has been. Will it be an impactful imprint or not? Responsibility of our thoughts, feelings, and actions is something we grow into at a certain level of our evolution. That's why we actually are here, to develop our consciousness. Regardless of how we take up this responsibility or not, regardless of how we take up this responsibility or not, we leave an imprint, an impression on others. We have an effect on others. It's just the nature of humanity itself. Humanity is affected by, we are all affected by each other. Are we not seeing that now more than ever before, given the last 3 years of COVID? And ongoing into these years. Regardless of how we take up this responsibility, we have an effect on everyone or everything and everything around us. Thus, because of that, we serve in one way or another the one life and each other. Okay? We evolve, we learn, we are able to tweak and refine through the experiences that we have had, positive and negative. This is that aspect of the law of relativity in action. We are interconnected and interdependent. Our being and its activities, thoughts, and feelings have an effect on everything and everyone around us. And it is the nature of humanity or human beings to react in one form or another to that which we observe and feel. We cannot see, feel, and react to stimuli around us. We cannot help but see, feel, and react to stimuli around us. It is an aspect of our interconnectedness which we are feeling more and more than ever before as a result of the incoming Aquarian age. We no longer can think of ourselves as separate. You know, how often do we hear, what I do is my business? To a certain extent, yes. Yes, agreed. The choices I make are mine alone and have nothing to do with anyone else. There are rippling effects, no question about it. in the way that people will see them, people will notice them, people will react to them. Um, they'll observe the inner energies of these actions and decisions and make a decision as to whether or not they are good or bad, liked, unliked, positive, negative. And as a result, they too are learning through observation. We all learn through observation of each other. And that through that observation, through that learning, it's almost like an aspect of the grist of the mill, you know, through the experiences, through the suffering, we all begin to learn. And we grow as a group. And I believe in truth that regardless of what it is we see out pictured right now in our world, we are moving concertedly toward peace, toward goodwill, and toward right relationship with others and with all of the kingdoms. Galvanized by this awareness through our developing consciousness, we then strive to live according to the cycles of opportunity, law of periodicity, available to us, aware of the fact that the divine flows through each of us. And by working for all, we work for the one life. And I use that word one life. I hope everyone understands. I use that word is whether everyone call the divine that which you prefer to call it. We all have names for it. But I find that one is appropriate. Let's talk about substance for a moment. What do we mean? I said earlier that substance is the body of God. When we think about the form, substance is the form. Substance is matter. Substance is intelligent and creative. Substance is the mother, the divine mother. So when we think about form and substance of which it is made and the substance that it is made from, we must note that substance, or also known as prime matter, has two basic unique characteristics. It is inert and it is active. Opposites there. It's inert and it is active. It is both. Substance is inert in and of itself. In and of itself, it does nothing. It just lays there like silly putty. Remember silly putty? Those of you in my age group will remember silly putty. You create, with silly putty, you were able to create a form. It was like clay, like a plastic clay, or like a silicone type of clay. And you create it, mold it into something, and as soon as you left it alone, it would begin to lose its form. And you look about 2 or 3 minutes later, and it was just laying there flat, like in a little puddle. Putty. You create a form, you hold it for a bit, and it goes back to the lump that it was. And also, substance is active when impressed by will. whether that is individual will or divine will. Substance must have an external focus of will for it to become something. Substance must be impacted or impressed upon by will, divine will, human will, in order for it to become active. And when it does, it begins to mold itself automatically according to the intent of the will itself. Substance moves in a rotary motion, should be known. A particle of substance rotates on its axis and remains in that same motion until it's impressed by a force greater than it. In this case, it's always going to be will. It's impressed by will, the will of the divine or the will of man, which is the divine in form. It was Isaac Newton who found that if a body is at rest or moving at a constant speed in a straight line, it will remain at rest or keep moving in that straight line or in that particular motion unless it's acted on by a stronger force. That's Isaac Newton's, I think it's the second law. The moment spirit impresses its will on that particle that is inert, particle begins a new motion. Remember, we said substance's movement, or the particle's movement, particle of substance's movement, is rotary, continuously rotary, unless impressed by another force. The moment spirit impresses that particle, a new motion of activity begins. This motion, impressed by spirit, creates a circulatory motion. Okay? Previously rotary, impressed by spirit, becomes circulatory, and that circulatory movement is that same particle beginning to gravitate around that positive pole which spirit is, because it's causative to that matter or that particle that's moving, substance moving in that rotary motion. The charged particle ceases its rotary motion and begins to orbit the positive pole of spirit that has impressed it according to the intent of the will of spirit. Its inertia keeps the particle moving in a rotary motion in a circular way around that positive pole. Rotary motion, but in a circular way. So two types of movement then are going on. The union of spirit and substance or matter creates a magnified field. Which is called consciousness or soul. Through the magnetic field created as a result of the union of the two energies, a new motion, a third motion then begins. The particle then will rotate upon its axis, orbits that positive pole, and as a result of the magnetic field created, it begins to spiral. That magnetic field creates a spiraling motion that picks up that particle and raises it up to spirit, where it is influenced by that energy and brings it back down through that spiral, where it connects again with matter and begins to influence and change matter as well. That's what happens because of that magnified field of soul or consciousness, which is created through the impress of spirit's intention on matter. I know these are scientific, rather abstract concepts, but hopefully I'm making it as plain and easy as possible to understand. These three different movements cause growth and development underneath form. That's the major, major point here. These three movements, spirit impressing matter, creating that magnified field, which is soul, consciousness, each of their particular movements and how those movements change as each is impacted by the other. The last of which, the third of which, is the creation of soul, which organizes a new movement beyond the two, rotary and circular. Soul creates that spiraling motion, which takes matter and brings it up to the highest of principles, the principle of the energy of spirit, where it can be influenced by the highest of these energies, shifted, changed, altered, and then brought back down to that spiraling motion to affect and change matter. That is a powerful, powerful, amazing motion that shifts consciousness. And we're going to see how it works within our being. Form's tendency is to repeat activity. Form, substance, matter. Its tendency is to repeat activity that it's used to. That's what creates ruts, habits. That's what creates those scenarios where I've never been, but I can imagine, where we go back to college reunions or high school reunions, and we meet those that we knew way back when. And we find that they haven't changed at all. They are still, they haven't grown. They haven't, they haven't evolved. They're still in that same rut, so to speak, or habit. There is an automatic response system within the nervous system and the brain that causes habitual behavior and a repetition of experiences. It is only through consciousness or soul that this habitual behavior can be altered, changed, broken. and a new pattern of motion established. This influence of soul or consciousness is positive, of course. It is that which forces one to go to AA, to stop smoking, or to decide that you need to change those with whom you hang out, or that you need more education, or how you are working in the world is not really representative of who you really are. And when I say working, I'm not talking strictly about job. I'm talking about how you are living, manifesting. The space you occupy in your life needs to shift. To change a pattern or a habit easily, we must attract or lift the substantial bodies of our being, and the substantial bodies of our being are what? Our mental body, our emotional body, and our physical body. Okay, or mental energy, astral energy, and physical energy, into closer proximity to the soul. I'll say that one more time. To change a pattern or habit easily, we must attract or lift the substantial bodies, the mental, astral, and physical energy of our being, up into closer proximity to the soul. By lifting consciously the substantial aspects of ourselves, our mental, astral, and physical body, or physical etheric body, up into the light of the soul, the place of understanding for the soul, or that place of understanding of the soul, which knows so much more than the persona. Okay? When we're able to do that, that is what changes habits, and new patterns of activity can be redirected. This process is part of the spiraling process we just spoke about between matter and the soul, through the magnetic field and the third spiraling movement, growth, evolution, we said occurs through that movement. We call this, there are many ways of calling it, but one of the ways is it's a refining of the persona refinement, or personality refinement, or personality integration. Okay. Here, at that point, as we work on that, the forces of the form, the persona, the mask of the soul, are then integrated into a unit that the soul can utilize. The soul, because we are doing this work, which is called self-initiated activity, this is self-initiation. This is not someone bopping you on your shoulders on the top of your head saying, you now have this degree. This is self-initiated activity. Once that is done, the soul realizes that its vehicle is working, or the individual, the indwelling soul, is seeking to unite with the overshadowing soul. And this begins what's called, as I talk about all the time, the divine marriage. And this takes time. Doesn't happen overnight necessarily. There's only one who's done it in one lifetime, and we know who that is, the one who walked on water. As a result of this work, which does take time, one begins to act in one's life and environment rather than react. We become causative in our life rather than reactive when something occurs in life. And why? Because the response is not coming from the persona, but it's coming from the soul instead. Totally different energy wave. It's coming from a place of wholeness, wisdom, incarnations, lifetime of incarnations and wisdom that's been built through those lifetimes. That which we are here through the mask, through the persona, is a shell. It's a shell of that which we really are. It lacks the huevos, so to speak. It lacks the depth and the wisdom. The soul creates understanding, which creates right action. Right action is born as a result of an integrated personality. An integrated personality comes when the three separate units of ourselves, the three aspects of our persona, are living in one integrated whole, not separate in entirely different zones. Okay? Big, big difference. When the physical being, the astral or emotional being, and the mental being are coordinated and focused upon one goal, that's power. When unaddressed and and the thought life is thinking one thing, which is totally different than what the emotional aspect is thinking and feeling, and which is totally different than what the physical wants, we have chaos, lack of integration, and ingredients for insanity, in truth. Once as they are unintegrated, they can create huge, dramatic issues in life that can cause us complete spiraling down into chaos, which can cause things that we see around us, like predatory behavior, victims, addictions of all sorts, codependency, just to name a few. But when that persona is integrated and aligned with the soul, and that consciousness is living not in the solar plexus, that energy, that being, that thought life, that feeling life, all of that is not living in the solar plexus, but is living in the ajna, in the head. Totally different. That's when you have cohesion. That's when you have power and the ability to overcome obstacles, the ability to be causative in one's life. understanding, working in right action, love, and wisdom. Otherwise, that persona is impotent. The thought life is impotent, the emotional and astral life is impotent, and the physical life is chaotic. Nothing is served when our actions contradict what we think and desire. Only once the personality is integrated and becomes a tool of the soul, and the individual is living in the head rather than the solar plexus, can they see and reevaluate their thoughts, feelings, and actions. And through that level or that aspect of reevaluation, they can create new patterns of behavior and habits. They can lift their matter out of the darkness into light. This process creates new meaning in one's life and affairs. And through our interconnectedness, feeds that positive energy also into the one life. So the whole cycle begins and ends. It becomes like a torus. Okay. We have then the movement of the law of economy, the law of relativity, and the law of periodicity in one's life. Cohesiveness, cohesion, being causative, because you're no longer disintegrated, or you no longer lack cohesion. You are in alignment and at one with the soul, which means that you are working also to be in alignment at the same time with the divine plan. Okay. With that, let us begin our meditation. Take a deep breath. And as you release it, relax the physical body. Feel the body becoming relaxed. Ask the nervous system to assist in this process, knowing that it will obey. Take a second deep breath. Moving into the astral body, astral emotional body. See it becoming calm and serene. Like the smooth surface of a pool of water, reflective of the sun's light, smooth and glassy. And a third deep breath. Coming awake, aware, alert, totally focused on this activity. And move your awareness 3 to 6 inches beyond the forehead into the Ajna center. Slowly and without rushing, take several deep breaths and seek to move any residual areas of the physical yet imprisoned up into the Ajna center. And if you are able, see the union of the physical, the astral, and the mental coming together in one concerted unit. Outside of the forehead. In the Ajna center. Sound a silent Om as you seek energetically to connect through the direction of your thought with your soul, that part of you above and free of the form, in no particular location, but is everywhere present. Align with your soul. Align the integrated persona as a unit, receptive to soul impress. And sound the silent Om. In this place with your higher self, your soul, take a moment to experience your soul. And its blueprint for your persona. What qualities does your soul hold that your persona needs to be reflective of? What thoughts, what emotions, what actions are indicative of your soul's blueprint? Take a few moments try to allow these blueprints to become part of your persona. What patterns, what habits are in need of shifting? As you bathe in the energy of your soul's light, as you stand in this place, try to discern at least one quality, possibly three, that you will begin to implement as a result of this meditation. Ask your soul that question you seek to be answered. Know that here all questions can be answered. Listen for the response. And know that if you hear nothing in this moment, you have planted the seed for the answer to come in the future, the near future. Give thanks to your soul for its vigilance over you for lifetimes. For its creation of your form, your gifts and talents, your weaknesses and lessons, your parents, your location, for it is that is responsible for all of these. Sense before we leave the love of your soul. The light of your soul. The wisdom of your soul. Take a deep breath. And as you release it, gently return to normal. I thank you, everyone, for this moment. Take some time to write. Before you forget, write immediately. Jot down anything that came to you, for it is a direct message from your soul. And you have this recording that you can use over and over again to return until it becomes a habit and you will no longer need this particular recording. I thank you for your time, your participation, and your interest in the Institute for Global Transformation. Until next time, much love and appreciation. Bye-bye.